I want to say good evening to all of you and welcome to the 10th National Santa webinar. And tonight we're covering your wardrobe for Christmas 2020. And this is going to be more of a group discussion. We've got a lot of special guests, which I'm calling co-hosts. They're all participating with us. I'm going to mute everyone, but I want you to know that I'm not locking the mute. So in other words, if you need to jump in and say something, just be courteous that if other people are talking, you could do that. The other thing you can do, and I invite you to do, is to use the chat box and to type in questions and things like that. So we don't have to interrupt the speaker. And then what I'll try to do is get to your questions during the hour and see if we can get answers for you on whatever your questions are. We'd like questions basically about wardrobe, Santa's wardrobe, Mrs. Claus wardrobe, accessories. Not here tonight to talk about hair and makeup or bookings, or as we were all talking about before we started this evening, cameras and lights. That's coming up on another webinar, or as Ed said, you can go visit and see one of his little webinars or videos that he's got out there for it and everything. So before I get into tonight's subject and introducing our panel of guests, I want to thank all of you for your notes and comments from last week's webinar with our special guest. We had the President and CEO of the Marine Corps Toys for Tots, Lieutenant General James Laster, including Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube, almost 1,900 views. I don't know how many people checked in twice, but that's a lot of people to pick on the video and come on in there and everything. And like I said, right now I'm admitting everybody in here, but I'm also going to get everybody admitted. I'm going to mute all of you right now. Now you are allowed to unmute yourself if you need to. And if you're one of my co-hosts, we've got that. Thank you, George. Yes, cover it up. It's easier than duct tape. Nobody wants to duct tape their beard or mustache, so we don't want to try to do that. Like I said, we had 1,900 check in on different things last week. Please remember, I do these every Wednesday or every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. And if you can't get into Zoom to be part of the group that asks questions and stuff, you can watch the live stream on Facebook. Also, the following day and anytime thereafter, it's on Facebook. But I also take the recording and post it on YouTube the following day. So it's all out there. And if you forget anything I've just told you, you can go to my website, nationalsanta.com. On the main menu bar, it says webinars. You click on that and it'll give you all the information on how to find the webinars, how to check in, etc. Something new that's been added this week, also on that webinar link, you'll see a second button which says webinar vendors. And what I've done is a lot of the people who are helping us tonight, I've listed them as vendors and information. So if you are trying to reach somebody that's helping us tonight, want to talk to them or ask them a question direct, or talk to them about a product that they sell or something like that, you can go to them direct. And I'll keep that listing of vendors up for the next couple of weeks, maybe through the end of August at least, so that people have that available to find these people if they need to get something done. So that vendor page is up now. Let's see, lots of links there though. Anyway, tonight I'm pleased to have a great group of co-hosts with me, and they're going to help answer questions that some of you already sent in about wardrobe and accessories and things like that. And so we've got that. And again, for those of you who are on the Zoom tonight with us, we've got a place where you can type in messages. And I notice I've got about 7 messages already on the chat box, so we'll get to those a little later. And for any of you who have questions later, again, go to the webinar link, vendors, and you can ask the people directly. Let me introduce our co-hosts, as I like to call them this evening. I hope we will get everybody in here and online and participating with us. Let's see, I've just got Kristie just joined us, and I'm going to find her and also set her up to be one of my co-hosts, because she's going to be right there. We have with us, I think we've got her coming on board, Adele from Adele's of Hollywood, Teresa Saby. I think Adele and Nadia are going to come on board and be with us. We have Kristie Covic from Costume Magic. For those of you who used to be out in California, she was there. Now she's in Texas. Why is it, all these people move to Texas? Eileen went there from California. Kirstie's there now from California. A few other people. It's like, I guess, the people leaving New York also. Everybody's looking for something a little better than what's going on out there. Santa Gordon Bailey was trying to join us. Unfortunately, he couldn't get through to us. So we do thank him for trying to be here, but we couldn't have him with us tonight. I think we might have Sam Militello from Santa and Company, Santa Suits, so I'm hoping he'll join us. Eileen Strom is with us tonight. She's the designer and owner of Eileen Strom Private Collection. She does clothing and belts and the real nice Santa ring with the wreath on it and things like that. So we have her. Santa's Steve Arnold from Toys for Santa. Also iBirds, one of the head honchos over there. From Santa's Closet, Santa Tom Cortemeglia. From the North Pole Emporium, Santa Carlucci out of Minnesota. And then we have also a designer, creator, and a suit maker from So Santa. We have Sherrie Heath. So, and if I missed one of you, hit the unmute button right now and tell us you're here. And I'll just make sure I try to get you set up as a co-host so you can enter in and out as we answer questions. So hopefully we have everybody here. Okay, that's nobody's sending me notes. So again, all of you are muted, but the thing is, you can unmute just by following the directions. I think you hit one of the keys on your keyboard and you can unmute yourself, or on your screen there should be a note for that. Going to start off with, I got the first questions tonight. I got a bunch of questions that were mailed in or emailed to us yesterday and today from different people. The first one's from Santa Alan Akoff, and he has, I've got two Coca-Cola suits, one heavier than the other, but both are pretty much meant for outdoor work. Can you suggest alternatives for less formal occasions, especially for maybe Christmas and July work? So I don't know if anybody has any suggestions on that from our panel of guests.
I can help if you want.
Okay, Eileen, go ahead.
As far as substituting a Santa coat, what you can do is get a different kind of fabric. You can do a silk as opposed to a wool or a velvet, so that's going to be a lighter weight, so it isn't going to be as hot. You can also go to a really elegant looking vest and shirt combo with your pants and boot and hat. Again, you still look like Santa, but you're going to be a whole lot cooler. As far as for Christmas and July stuff, if you're doing something that's more dressy, kind of go that route. But otherwise, you do the casual Santa with the shorts and the Hawaiian shirt and that type of stuff, because it's just too hot to wear a suit.
I don't know if anybody saw the Facebook note I sent out earlier today. I'm doing a campaign with the Marine Corps, Toys for Tots, for Christmas in July. And what we've done is taken a whole bunch of pictures and are using them kind of like Santa posting on Facebook. But the idea is to little teasers for people and inviting them to, of course, make donations to help out the Toys for Tots campaign. So I took pictures wearing my overalls out in the garden, a Hawaiian shirt, out on the water, things like that, to kind of make it a little bit of fun. So again, Christmas in July can be quite unique. A Hawaiian shirt, red shorts, pair of tennis shoes, always the Santa hat. Always the Santa hat, I think, is important. Even if you've got a Hawaiian shirt on, the Santa hat makes the whole thing together. And then maybe a pair of sunglasses. So that's if you're going casual. If you got to go formal with the full Santa suit, well, I just wish you luck in this nice warm weather. Anybody else have any suggestions for Santa Alan? Okay. The next question is kind of different. This is from Santa Delbert Paris, and his question is, why do Santas put mistletoe pins on their hats? And I guess it's probably one of those things why do we put mistletoe or holly or a poinsettia, whatever why do we put something on our hat at all? Anybody have a response on that from our group? Nobody?
Well,
Well,
I
can
Hi,
give you-
Kristie. Okay, Kirstie's got an answer for us.
Well, it's a great way to individualize your suit without breaking from the character. I mean, it can just show what mood you're in, what kind of event you're doing. You know, it just gives it a little bit of you in your outfit, in your suit. I mean, I have a lot of guys that they very much are into the religious aspect, so they like their pin to represent something that way. Whereas others just like to have as much jewelry as they can. So to me, it's just a little bit of individuality without going crazy with your suit.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this in my school. I will tell Santas, you know, I think a pin or a brooch or something on your hat. I mean, you could have something up here in your hat. You could have a little pin or something on your jacket or something like that. I'd like to be more simplicity, especially if you also have brocade or trim around the jacket or coat. You don't want too much. I don't think a Santa should look like a Philippine taxi.
It comes.
If some of you have ever seen that, where they've got everything in the world on it. I know that some guys like to buy and purchase and have every single attachment and decoration that's out there for the Santa community, but sometimes I think it's too much. So make it simple, make it beautiful.
Just
Carlucci had something.
Oh, I was just saying is that, you know, the professional photographers I've worked with over the years have asked me that I should have something there to break up all of the standard white color in your face. It brings the attention up toward your face because there's an attention getter up on your head. And again, it's that same thought of why do you have something there? It's because it can always be a prop. It can always be something that you can talk about with the children as well. So again, it could be a gift that you got from your Mrs. Claus. It could be something that your father passed on to you, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I think Robert Suetter had something he wanted to say.
Speaking as the tradition, it probably comes from the holly and ivy wreath that the Lord of Wassail came in the English tradition and early the Anglo-Saxon tradition. Mistletoe is part of the Norse tradition, and then in the Celtic tradition, they also wore it as a way to define clans. And then later on, it probably just migrated into being part of the ensemble as a fascinator in the Victorian tradition.
Thank you, Robert. Nice to have. By the way, I'll probably be calling you because one of these webinars, I'm going to try to bring together a group of people to talk about a little history and culture that we've had that have led to where we are today. Eileen, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you do put something on your hat, don't make it super huge. I've seen some of them that they've got these, I mean, literally, it looks like something sprouting out of their head, and it's just like, just little. That's all.
Just a little sparkle sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, some of these guys have flowers and stuff that are, 6 inches across, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah. I was very fortunate. I found a little poinsettia, miniature poinsettia, silk flower, about 3 inches across. And because I have a lot of Swarovski crystals on my suit, it's covered with Swarovski crystals. But it's small. And then the other thing I did is I had Adele make me one of her hats, and she made the hat with the very wide fur brim on the top. Instead of 4 inches, I've got 5 inches of fur. So it's a little different look. But again, I think like what was being said earlier, a lot of the Santas want to have a little different identity, their own look, their own style.
And Tim?
Yes.
It's Stephen. I just threw up my profile picture with something Eileen actually made for me, with the vest and the shirt that she was talking about as a more casual thing. And I wore that last weekend at an event. A lot more comfortable when it's 85 degrees outside than a suit. So I just kind of threw it up there on my profile picture for a minute before I go back with live videos. So I
think somebody here probably would tell us where you can get that buckle also, because we have Steve and Tom and a few other people who I think market that.
That's true.
Okay.
Tim, I think sometimes you want to be careful with that pin too,
On your hand.
because when you put it in the center of your hat, you look like a target.
You want it off center.
Exactly.
Maybe you want to tip it a little bit to one side or the other. You don't want to have it directly straight on.
Yeah.
I think it should be
Off
off to
center,
a right or
above
left.
your eye.
That's
You know.
correct.
Okay. Let me see what my next question I've got here. Senator Arthur Hampson. I saw Arthur's here already, and he has a very important question, a question that comes up in my school all the time. I'm sure that all of the Santas who have been teaching or head a Santa organization or anything else like that, we invariably all run into a fellow Santa who comes up with a little problem, and that is, how do you get white fur back to white after it's turned pink? Okay. And, for some Santas, it means getting a whole new set of fur. But I know that we've got, Eileen, I think, had a way to get it out. And I know Kristie, working in the costume industry, knows a little bit about it. So I'm opening it up. Who's got some solutions to getting that pink fur back to white?
Eileen, you want to go first?
Yeah, there's a product out there that's called Gonzo, and it works pretty well. But I mean, if your fur is like light pink, you might be okay. If you're screaming, hot pink, forget it. Nothing is really going to clean it or remove that without damaging the fur too much. Your best bet is just to start over, unfortunately. But what you need to make sure to begin with, especially if you're getting a custom suit made, you need to make sure any of the fabrics are treated prior to everything getting cut out. They're shrunk, they're steam done so the dyes can come out, they're washed, whatever it is that can be done with it. Even if you're going to dry clean it later, it removes a lot of that residue that now can leak into your other stuff. The other thing to do too, especially if you're brand new, if you've moved or whatever, and now you're trying to find cleaners, look at dry cleaners that deal with specialty fabrics. Do they deal with stuff with sequins and jewels and furs and stuff like that, as opposed to just, cleaning shirts? But bring your hat in and have them clean it, because you can always replace a hat a whole lot easier than doing your whole suit. It's much easier just to make a cuff for your hat and a new pom-pom than having to treat your whole suits. But that'll also tell you probably what your suit will do too, assuming they're a reputable cleaner to start with. So, but Gonzo will work okay. But like I said, if you're hot pink, forget it. You're no. Anyway, go ahead.
Kristie has been in the costume business, actually had a big costume store, not just Santa suits, all types of costumes. So she's quite experienced at cleaning all kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, I've cleaned all different kinds of things, but I've just got to agree with Eileen. Once it's reached that pink point, trying to spot clean it or to do little things, it's just not even worth it. It's better to take it to somebody who sews. They can remove that fur, they can wash it, bleach it, get it back to white and put it back on. You don't necessarily have to have new fur, but you have to have that fur cleaned. The bonus to doing it that way as well is that's another opportunity to get that suit washed and get the rest of that excess dye out, because there's nothing worse than getting it fixed, having it have the new fur, and then they wash it again and you're right back where you were. I mean, I've had some luck, again, when it's very little bit with the soft scrub with bleach, because it doesn't go anywhere. I can just do a little spot cleaning.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've found when I've taken them apart, the threads themselves have dyed. And that means no matter what you do, it's going to look pink. So yeah, Eileen hit the nail on the head. You've got to pre-treat that fabric. And the hard part is you can wash something, because I washed my suits that I rented. And I could have washed one 20 times and I was fine. And that 21st time, the dye decided to let go, you know, and it just happened. It was no rhyme or reason. But yeah, it's just a matter of, there is no good answer other than hopefully the fabric has been treated properly beforehand so it doesn't happen.
By the way, in talking with Sam and with Adele and some of the people who actually buy their velvet in bulk, and they buy what they call non-bleed, they're still, even though it says non-bleed when they buy it from the manufacturer, from the mill, they don't guarantee that it's not going to bleed. Any red will bleed a little some way or another. It's how it's treated, how it's cleaned. That's why dry cleaning is very important sometimes, and that they don't use heat, you know, hot water and things like that. But the minute it turns pink, if it's just very light, like I said, then you can use Gonzo, that might help. But if you're going to have to go to a dry cleaner and they're going to have to do a couple series of cleanings and stuff like that, it's almost not worth it. You're better off just having the fur removed and cleaned, or removed and replaced. And so that's important. By the way, I've had fur replaced, and when you get the fur back on your velvet suit and it's been replaced, it looks like a new suit. So you know, it's not that big an expense after you've had an accident. It's a better way. So here's the next one. It has to deal with almost the same thing. Can you wash a suit in the washing machine?
Unless it is fabric. Go ahead. You go first, Kristie.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, you can. It's just a matter of what was done to it before. I'm harsh on fabric. I don't care if it says dry clean only. I will wash that fabric to see what it's going to do. So yeah, it can be done. But as I said before, I've had ones that I've washed 20 times, and that 21st time, the dye let go. But a lot of it depends on the fabric. My big thing is stay away from heat. You know, if you're going to wash it in cold. Don't do any heat. Eileen?
I don't do a whole lot of suits per se. I will make individual pants and hats, but I don't do the coats. I just don't have the room and stuff for that. But even when I've done velvet and wools and stuff for people, I always pre-treat everything. I take the stuff to the dry cleaners and have them either steam shrink it or wash it, whatever. You know, the velvet, run it through and do what it needs to do, and then that way I know what it's going to do or not do. Some furs are going to be more susceptible to drawing in a dye than others will as well. But the thing is, what you have to look at is if the stuff is pre-treated beforehand, you're not going to have to worry about it shrinking afterwards. But if it's something that's like wool, if you are going to wash wool again, it's going to not be a good thing unless you have a fabric that is made to be washed. You've got a synthetic something or other that isn't going to shrink. It's designed to be put in the washing machine and put in the dryer, or just the washing machine and hung up. There are some people that are out there that are making washable suits, but most suits are not washable. But what you can do to the fabric prior to making the suit is different. But once it's made into a suit, I would not be chucking it in a washing machine unless it says it is a washable fabric. So you're going to take your chances with that one, but no, I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, I always tell the Santas in my school, if you're going to make your own suit or you find a material you really like, get a swatch, put it in a little glass of water with a couple drops of soap, shake it up, let it sit for a few minutes. If the water starts turning pink, don't buy that velvet, don't buy that material, because you're just going to have headaches later on.
Yeah.
No, it works that way.
The other thing that you want to do too with fabrics, if you're going to be making your own, get the swatches. The swatches are the best thing to do. And besides doing the, is it going to run or, you know, on me thing and see what it's going to shrink. The other thing is to take a picture of it with your camera, with your iPhone. Did any of those swatches orange up? I don't care if it looks lovely in person. If you look like an orange when you're done, don't buy it.
That's a very good point. Didn't think about that, because I have seen Santas They look great, but then when they get on a photo set and they light it, the lighting techniques turn the material
Look like the
out
Great
of color.
Pumpkin.
There was a question here in the comments about when we're saying pre-treat, what do we mean? And that's, Eileen had said, if it says that it's a dry clean fabric, then you take it and you have it dry cleaned before you make it. That's when they're saying pre-treat, treat it as if what you're going to do once you own it, do it beforehand so that you know what it's going to do, and let it have its way. I have on occasion gone out, bought brand new fabric from the wholesaler or the mill, and I took it home and I washed it and it fell apart. Thank God I did that, because it didn't fall apart on the client. It just happened to be a bad bolt. But when they're asking about pre-treating, that's what they mean. That's what we mean. That's what I mean.
Yes,
Because
Santa True.
Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Santa True has mentioned in the comments also that he's used the Shout color catchers sometimes to help fix up some things.
Yeah, that can work, but again, I wouldn't chuck a suit in the machine if it's wool or velvet. I would not put it in a washing machine. But the thing with wool too, for instance, there's a wool that B. Black and Sons in LA sells that's a gorgeous gorgeous wool. And I've made things with it that aren't Santa related. But the stuff is going to shrink, not by the width, but the length. It's going to shrink about 4 inches per yard if it has steamed pressed before you cut it out and do whatever. So if you need 6 yards of stuff, you're going to need to buy 7 so that by the time it's done shrinking, you're going to have 6 yards. So that's another thing to look into too. What is the fabric going to do?
It's getting too complicated here tonight.
You're talking our language.
Yes, but
Yeah,
I was wondering, I know we have
that's it
Sherrie
here.
Heath out there. She does some work with clothes and stuff. Sherrie, did you have any comments on this?
The only
guess
thing
she-
that
oh,
I
there she is.
add
There
is
she is.
you can rinse some, when you pre-wash fabrics, if you put vinegar in the wash with them,
Yep.
it'll sometimes set the color so that it doesn't
Yes.
take as much.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very true.
That's the only.
And it doesn't make it stinky.
Isn't it neat to hear about good old home remedies
Yeah.
instead of, simple things that you can do, simple things that you can do. By the way, I know, and we'll probably talk about deodorizing in a bit, but we'll talk about another simple thing. My next question was from Santa Kurt Massey, and he wanted to know the advantage of maybe not wearing a Santa suit and wearing the shirt and vest for events and stuff as versus the suit. And then where can I find a good source to obtain a puffier balloon sleeve shirt plus vest? And of course, we've got 3 ladies here, I know that make them, so I get, this is the ladies' night, I think. You all got good answers.
Who wants to go first?
Sherrie, do you want to go first? We've been going first.
Yeah, there you go.
I just unmuted it, so now I let it back on. I have puffy shirts. I know Eileen does. I know Kristie does. I know there's some others on here that do too. But I think we all have a different type of style, and so
Yeah.
just go to our sites and look and see what you
Yeah.
like. So yeah.
And the other thing that I can add to that is obviously even just between the 3 of us, if we had clones and there were 3 more of each one of us, we still can't make everything that everybody needs to have.
Exactly.
If
right.
any of you are on Facebook and Claus Chat in particular, if you go to the file, you know how they'll have discussion about whatever, there's a thing that's called a file. If you click that, I've got a link in there that's basically, Santa over-the-counter stuff that you can get. And there's also a Mrs. Claus one where you can order some kind of ready-made, like from the Ren Fair kind of like stuff. At least it will get you something until you can get on your list or my list or whoever list to get something custom made. It'll at least get you through. Or if you're looking at summer stuff for different things, somebody's hired you at a golf country club or whatever, and they want you to come in knickers and a shirt. There's links there for that kind of stuff, or where to get striped socks. I have a whole little thing that's there, and I try and keep it updated But go to that, and it'll give you a whole bunch of different places to go to get stuff that's already there. It may not be long enough in the sleeve or long enough in the legs or whatever, but that's why you go to custom people for other stuff. But, you know, again, we can only do so much every year. You know?
Yeah,
So,
so often the Santas have to look for, some of their clothing has to come from period clothing suppliers.
Yes.
So like you said, Ren
that's what some of
Fair.
my links are.
I've also found Scottish Highland Games. Sometimes when you go to their festivals, you can find the poet shirts and things like that.
Yeah.
Which are period piece clothing.
Yeah, some of the links that I have are for historical kind of places and whatnot that
Those are
they'll
perfect.
get.
Those are, yeah, the historical ones are a great resource because most of the people that are making that stuff are actually wearing it to do
Yeah.
events. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a Halloweeny bag costume stuff that
Yeah.
she's talking
Yeah.
about. She's talking about
Yeah.
clothes. The other portion of his question is he said, you know, what's the advantage to wearing a shirt and a vest? A shirt can be thrown in the washing machine and it doesn't bleed.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, you've got a winner on that, and yeah, it goes back to the cooler. You can have multiple vests to change up your look, which is not the expense of buying an entirely new suit.
Yeah.
You can just change up your vest for a nice fresh look. For those that are budget minded. But yeah, like you know, Eileen said, the places that she recommended, if you can't get it from one of us or any of the other ladies that make things, it's a great way to do it for an in-between.
Yeah. And as far as being cooler, only when my husband is doing studio work, when they actually want him in the full suit, when he does his other visits during the year, unless they request for him to be wearing the coat, he is wearing a silk vest with his belt, with a nice shirt and everything else. I mean, he looks very elegant, very Santa. There's no denying that that's who he is, but he's 100 degrees cooler.
I think the shirts and the vests in the last 20 years, the Santa, there's been an evolution in wardrobe for the Santas. And prior to that, we were still pretty much in the traditional, but a lot of Santas, particularly Southern California and Florida, parts of Texas, the heat becomes a very important factor. I forgot, I'm sorry, Arizona and Palm Springs too. There have come up with some lighter things. I know that one of the Santas in Palm Springs wears a duster, which is a Western style type jacket, which is long, but it's not lined and it's lightweight and it has no fur trim on it at all, because he's Santa right here. That and the Santa hat and the long red coat, and underneath he's got the shirt and the vest. He gets into the home, the jacket comes off. I wear a royal robe and I'll wear it for a lot of things, but I always have a nice shirt and a vest, and I can take that coat off and I'm still in full dress. I'm still in character, so I can be very formal with the robe when I come in, do pictures and stuff, and then when I do storytelling, I can cool down to something else. So there's a lot of advantages to those shirts and things like that. Let's see. Santa Bill Bella in Kingwood, Texas. It's time for me to upgrade my Santa suit. Is it preferable to visit Adele's or San Mateo or somebody like that to see all the available choices and to be custom fitted, or can I order by mail? And then, how much lead time do you need?
Yeah, hello.
I talked to Sam, by the way, today. He's taking orders for 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My 2021 list is almost filled.
The rest of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got room on mine only because I literally just moved across the state or country. But lead time, as much as you can give somebody. I mean, just don't wait. If you know that's what you want to do, then do it. And if you can get somewhere to see the samples, that's great. I don't do a tremendous amount of samples, just mostly because I want it to be for you. You know, it's whenever I've made a lot of stuff ahead of time, all I've done is had to remake it so that it fit the way it needed to. So it's a bit of a catch-22 as to how, I don't know if the other ladies do a lot of extra stuff, I mean, a shirt or some of the other stuff, that's fine. But I just prefer to do it to the client.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's best if you can get fabrics, you know, like I said, get swatches, look at stuff, plan this thing out so that, you know, not only design wise, but what you want it made out of, the linings, the whatever. Get samples of stuff and then don't sit on them for forever, because you could look at something in January and in March it's sold out.
Yes.
So the thing is, get the stuff that you want, because even if it's going to be 6 months later when you finally need to send it to somebody, you've got it.
Yeah.
And always get extra, because down the line you go, oh, I'd like to have a vest made, or I want an extra hat or an extra pair of pants, and now it's all out of the same dye lot.
Mm-hmm.
Art, you know, trying to match red. I mean, trying to match any color after the fact, whether it's red, green, blue, whatever. It's like, you know, but yeah, but the thing is, as much lead time as you can give somebody, or like in my case, I have my sign up list out right now for next year. And I've got like 2 spots left on it. So I'm done, you know? So if you try and contact me in March of next year, too bad. You aren't on my list. That's the way it goes. I can, you know, wait for July of 2021 to get on the 2022 list. But some people just don't make a list that way. It's as people contact them. Everybody operates differently. So it's, you know, but again, more lead time, the better.
Always.
Yeah, in my case, I don't like them to provide the fabric, because you never know what you're going to get that way. I know what I'm getting from my manufacturers, so I always provide the fabric for my custom outfits.
Oh,
And
there you go.
And I do like them to come to me to get fitted, because I know Eileen won't measure the same way I do. Kristie won't measure the same way I do. And I know I won't measure the same way you do. So
Yeah.
it's whoever's going to make your outfit, you need your measurements taken by them. That's
And don't trust the Santa to give you what he thinks he is.
Yeah.
For some reason,
Yeah, how
I've
many
done
days
that
have-
once. I
got the
no,
slit
twice.
down the front, yeah.
and I sent them a muslin. It's a good thing I didn't send them the vest, because it lacked this much of clothing.
oh yeah,
They send us the
I-
sizes for the wedding.
I love it when the Santa, I meet a Santa and he's got a jacket. And he said he's ordering a jacket and it's a 3X. And when I ask him what his waist is for his pants, he says, "Oh, I'm a 32."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
or try a belt, Tim. Same thing, you know. When you,
Yeah.
I need a 58 belt, and then they turns out they need a 50, or they say I need a 50 and they need a 60. It's just
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't put it back on.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why I
Once the
send them
fabric's
off.
cut, that's it. Once the leather's cut, that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
We could go probably a couple hours tonight on things. I want to get down this list here. I know we talked about fabrics already. Got a question on that. Stay away from those colors that you were worried about. Somebody asked, now we talked about fur getting pink, but somebody asked, what about my fur always seems to look bad? What can I do to make my fur look better?
Brush it.
Okay.
Brush it,
Oh,
brush it,
I
brush
don't
it.
like brushing it. I disagree with that one, but
What do you do?
shake it.
No.
Shake it.
When it
The
gets
fur
wet?
that I use, I shake.
Okay.
If you brush it, the fur that I use, you're gonna pull stuff out of it.
Okay.
You're gonna,
Well, you can't,
Most of the
Yeah.
good furs,
like
if you
you're
use,
getting a knot out of your dog or something, but
Yeah.
I've seen stuff when it comes even back from the dry cleaners, and it's not like it's matted, but it's just, And if
Yeah.
you just take a slicker brush, just gently to it.
oh, just
and go
on the
to
top.
frame.
Just on the
Yeah.
top.
yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and yeah, just fluff it across the top, and it's
Oh, okay.
like a transformation.
The difference is
Yeah.
you don't dig it in. That's
No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no, no,
okay.
no, no.
But
We're not
Santa's
getting
hear
knocked
that.
out of the dog. Yeah, yeah. No, we're just
Santa's hear
smooth-
that.
Yeah, we're
I
just
was at a- I
smoothing
was-
the top out. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on location.
I equate it to combing your hair, you know, when it's damp. You just got to give it a little comb when it's still damp, and then when it's done, drying, then you shake it out and it works beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was on location one time, and the people in the wardrobe department were using a dry shampoo powder that they put on some of the fur, and then use the dog pick or the real fine wire dog brush
Yeah.
to fluff out the fake fur. And sometimes if it's done, a lot of times if it's done right, it looks like brand new fur. You know,
Wow. Yeah.
you've got to be
I've
very
never heard
careful.
about the dry shampoo.
You can't treat it like you were, a mechanic. You've got to do it very lightly.
That's what I've seen. Pull it right out.
Hey,
Pretend there's a live body underneath it.
Pam, this is Santa Scott in Oklahoma. My elf last year every day took a fine tooth pet comb, like you use for a dog, just a pet comb, not a brush, a comb, and just kind of went over my fur, and it looked like brand new every single day before I went to the set. So
Yeah.
it worked. It's not like you're digging in trying to get the scalp out of the fur.
You're just
Yeah.
fluffing it. You're fluffing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just lightly. But if you do it every time it comes back from the cleaners, or after you've taken it out for the, after the summer, you're taking it out and it's been kind of squished, just kind of shake it and just give it a little bit of a rub with the brush, and it's amazing how much difference it can look. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
I've got 4 more questions that came early, and then we've got a couple questions that are on the chat room. So let me real quick here. I have some trim on my suit, and after having it dry cleaned, it looks dull, almost gray. What can I do to make it shiny and bright again?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Anything either.
The trim has been damaged.
Okay. A lot of times what that is it's because the metal in the
Reacts to the
trim,
chemicals.
Yeah, it's aluminum in a lot of cases, and yeah, it reacts to chemicals, and that's why it dulls. So it cannot be polished and cleaned up. If it's real gold, it can be, but not many people have real gold bullion and trim on any type of suit.
Yeah.
Like that. So
Again,
again,
that's
this is
one
one
of
of
the
those
things
things. Sometimes before you have something put on, have it tested. Take a swatch and have it
Pre-treat it.
or clean it. Otherwise, you need to have it taken off and have new brocade or trim put on. We talked about pins and brooches. Oh, here's one. How do I keep my Santa pants from getting shiny after having hundreds of kids sit on my lap?
You brought the wrong velvet.
He has
What's that,
velvet,
Sherrie?
obviously.
He has velvet, obviously. I agree.
Yeah.
Bought the wrong kind.
Okay, it's a soft velvet. It's not the right type.
It's probably a rayon velvet.
A rayon
Yeah.
velvet.
Yeah.
So in other words, that's more of one of the probably packaged suits like a Halco or a Ruby or something like that. That's it's the material.
It's the material.
It's the material. It's usually
Right.
rayon because rayon is easily damaged.
Yeah, even the Halco and the Planet Santa and all of those, which Planet Santa gets theirs from the same place Halco does. Those are a poly, but they're not a rayon, so they will stay for a long time. But we're talking about a relatively inexpensive piece of fabric.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve. Here's one. I don't have time to get my suit cleaned. What are my options? Is there anything I can do to freshen it up to make it look better?
Don't put Febreze on it. That stuff is awful. There's a product that's called Fresh Again. You can do the vodka and water thing, whatever. But there's a product that's called Fresh Again, and how we found out about it is when my daughter used to do Irish dance. She's wearing an expensive outfit that's silk and whatnot. You don't just chuck those things in the washing machine, but these kids are, literally turning into sweat monsters. They're just gross. And, you've got another competition the week after, and then the following week. And then, so you can spray this stuff on. It removes the odor. It doesn't damage the fabrics, and I've put it on silk, wool, velvets, satins, and it also, when you do finally go take the thing to get it dry cleaned, it helps remove the perspiration and stuff out of the fabrics, as opposed to now it being set in when it gets dry cleaned. The stuff is awesome. But it's called Fresh Again.
I've used Fresh Again for years.
Yeah.
Years.
The stuff is awesome.
So we
And it
don't have to
makes-
worry about vodka and water.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, if you can't find the Fresh Again or anything like that, a simple thing is taking your suit and turning it so that it's facing out and putting it on a chair and letting it air out and completely dry. Because even when you put it in a canvas bag, it still takes a while for all that moisture from when you're wearing it to evaporate. So just simply turning it and hanging it and letting the air get to it will do amazing things for it.
Yeah. The other thing that we have, it looks like a football player's kind of shoulder pads, but with a hanger, and it has a little dryer in it. It's called Hang Dry, and it's made for drying wetsuits.
Oh.
But we've been using that for the last, oh my God, 13, 14 years with Dave's suits. And we will lightly spray his suit. You put the suit over it, you hang the thing up, you turn the dryer on. We put his boots below it. We put his hat on his little stand below it, and the air kind of blows right through. It can take his suit that's completely sweaty and yucky, and it can be dry on high in 2 hours.
Wow.
And it's just air. There's no heat involved at all. It's just air. And the thing is awesome. But we spray the thing, we hang it up in the doorway, turn it off in a couple hours, and away he goes. This thing is awesome. It won't shrink anything. It won't damage anything. It's just air movement. But the thing is great. But it's made for drying wetsuits.
Broad shoulders, really broad
Yeah.
shoulders. And it's about $50, I think, is what I
it's
paid
not
for
very
mine.
expensive.
What's it called?
It's a wetsuit. It's a wetsuit dryer. You can just look it up as a wetsuit dryer.
Yeah.
Big black hanger with a plug-in fan in it. They're terrific, and a little Fresh Again that just in there. But again, Fresh Again's not a cleaner, guys. I mean, you get dirt on it. You know, that's often though, if it's a little something soiled in one area, you can take a washcloth and gently clean it and get a lot of it off, particularly if you've got one of the poly suits with the velvets.
Sometimes
you
that's
always-
where the shot white helps, having, little things like that.
Yeah.
Some of those will help a little bit. There's no perfect way of doing a super cleanup after an accident or something that's really dirty and trying to, just touch it up if it's really bad. But in a lot of cases, being able to use, like Steve said, a washcloth just to lightly brush something. I've had some fur where it was a little dirty. One Santa told me one time he used Windex to clean his fur, and I went, what? But he said he watered it down a bit and he was able to get it in there, but it was light enough. And because it has a little, I guess, alcohol
Ammonia.
or something in it,
Ammonia in
It's
it.
got ammonia, and I wouldn't use Windex, but something with a little alcohol in it should be okay.
Yeah.
If you want to dry your suit, if you have any affiliation with your local fire department, most fire departments have drying racks for their turnout gear. And they would probably let you throw your suit on one of their drying racks.
hey, besides having the #2 red vehicle for Santa to ride around in, that's another new benefit of knowing your friendly fire department. Last thing I wanted to get to that's been talked about in the chat group here is cooling vests. We've had some Santas talk about it, how it works. I noticed that James Kelly was asking about it, and Dave Nelson ordered some things. And I know there are a couple different types out there. Does anybody have any comments about cooling vests they'd like to bring up?
They're great, but they're bulky.
They
And
are
a way
both.
around that. I have a way around that. What I made for Dave, everybody's seen the guys for their Department of Transportation out working on the street, and they've got the mesh vest kind of thing on with the highlight stuff on it. Get the sports vest mesh and make just a simple vest, or even buy a simple one. And what you're going to do is you're going to make pockets down the front of it, and you're going to make a big pocket down the back and just make some Velcro closures for it. It's now a super lightweight thing. the cool vest can actually cool you as opposed to going through this big bulky vest.
Yeah, some of them are
And
very
it
heavy, a
works
lot
a
of
whole lot
canvas.
easier.
So I have a Glacier Tech vest that I've used, and I actually wore it during a commercial shoot in the Caribbean on ship, and I would burn through that in about 2 hours. I would just melt it completely. The problem with the cooling vest I found is there are two big factors. Number one, do you have any airflow? If you don't have any airflow, if you can't get the heat away from you, you're kind of hosed. And then the other thing is once the gel packs or the phase change oil melts, it starts holding the heat.
That's
and
right.
and now
You
you're
got to
in
get them off once they're melted.
yeah, once they're melted, you're in serious trouble. If you're in a situation where you can't, unbuckle your belt, get your jacket off, get everything off, swap it all out, I would not recommend wearing one in a situation where you're on set. So I was on set just a little while ago, and I didn't know when they were going to tell me that I was going to have time to change out. So I chose not to wear a cool vest, even though I have one, because simply I could be 2 hours, I could be 4 hours, and I will melt through a Glacier Tech vest in about 2 hours.
Yeah, they don't last very long. That's a given regardless of, but unless you've got like a spare set, and like, for instance, say you're working for a photographer where every 20 minutes a new person comes in. Well, after an hour, you can quick change out of your suit, put the new things on, shove the other ones in the freezer, and you can start over again. But trying to do that if you're working in a mall or something like that, a cool vest is not going to do you any good whatsoever. But if you can at least remove some of the bulk from it, you're at least more comfortable.
Well,
But
and
they
also
don't
keep it,
last long.
yeah, if you're going to get a cool vest, get it before you order your suit.
Oh yeah.
It changes your measurements and your size and everything, and you can't do it after. It just, you can't. So please don't do that.
Yeah.
I need to speak up here. I love using my cool vest. And what True says is right. I get about 2.5 hours. And as long as you're in a situation where you can go and change it out, I keep 3 sets of packs, and I've got, like I say, I have 3 of them, and sometimes I do a shopping center that's outdoors in Southern California, and it gets really hot, and that saves me, and I know the security is going to come and get me in 2 hours and take me on my little break, and I go change it out. And it works out terrific. You're right. It adds about 4 inches in girth.
Yep.
And so that's something you have to consider, about your suit. The other thing that you can do, mine has, pockets here, and it's got pockets in the back. Some guys might be happier just using the pockets that are in the back. Don't use the front ones. Sometimes that, you kind of have to play around with it, see what you like, but I love mine. It's terrific. I use it all the time, unless I'm using my vest and robe.
Yeah.
Talking about the girth, I use a product called Thermapparel, and they only have the deals in the back, the ice packs in the back, so they don't add much to the girth, but it is comforting to have them back there while they last.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can change the things out, they're super. But if you're just going to be stuck for 8 hours and you put them on in the morning, you're going to be suffering from it. But yeah, you need to get your measurements done over a cool vest or padding or whatever else you're going to be doing before you get a suit made, or a vest or anything else, because after the fact, it isn't going to fit.
Also, buying a Santa belt. You need, if you're going to have a cooling vest, you need to take that into account.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's why the mesh vest too is nice, because you don't add that extra bulk.
That's a great idea.
One of the things that we all get into with the wardrobes and the clothing and everything is that we all seem to have these situations with heat and stuff. I think that's why we talk about having a fan on the set and things like that. The other thing that, of course, my doctor always tells me is I need to lose a few pounds, and I'll be cooler if I lose a few pounds. So part of watching your weight and your diet and everything else, walking, stretching exercises, keeping your cardio working good helps your body dissipate some of that heat. So again, that's my healthful point for tonight. I have one more item that someone asked for the ladies. Eric Epstein asked, can you use the app from iTailor to get your digital measurements? And would those work for a Santa suit?
Not for me.
I have no idea what that app is, so don't know.
Okay.
I have my thing and I tell everybody how to do it, and it's, there it is. So I have no idea what that app is, Ted.
I think Sherrie said it best earlier. We all do it differently.
Yes.
So I don't know that I'd be comfortable with somebody giving me that. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah,
I've seen it
I've done
advertised.
a website chart of all the measurements that that you need to take to get a good fit on a wardrobe and things like that. I was amazed in working with Capri Boots. They have 11 measurements just to make a pair of boots.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, to make you a pair of custom boots, 11 different measurements. So it's very important to make sure you got the right measurements. And sometimes these digital apps, they're fine for ordering a pair of Levi's, but when you got to have a custom suit or something like that, quite different. I know we've had a lot of great questions tonight. I think we may have to do another one of these on wardrobe in the future because there's so many questions. We didn't even cover anything regarding ladies' wardrobes. We didn't have any questions from any of the Mrs. Claus. So I think it would be nice to have that. Again, if there was a question you had, maybe you'll think about it tonight. Later, if something comes up. On my website, I do have that webinar vendor list. It has the emails for all these people that have been with us tonight, so you can contact them. I will make sure that the group chat information is copied and sent out to them. So if anybody wants to respond to anybody on a direct message or anything like that, we can get that taken care of also. That's it for this evening. If you missed something or want to review what we discussed, you can view it on the live stream on Facebook, which will be available right after we shut down this video. It'll be available to watch again. It'll also be posted on YouTube sometime tomorrow. So we'll have it there. I would like to again thank Kristie Covic from Costume Magic, Eileen Strom Private Collection, Santa Steve Arnold from Toys for Santa, Tom Cortemeglia from Santa's Closet, Santa Carlucci, the North Pole Emporium, Sherrie Heath from So Santa. I'm sorry, I thought we were going to have Adele here and also Gordon Bailey, but I guess some little problems. We lost a few people and everything. But remember, if you still have questions, you can go to that webinar tab. Thank you again for joining me and everybody that was here this evening. I invite you to join us next week when we're going to
Thank you, Tim.
A little more on your image. What?
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim.
Anyway, next week I'm going to cover a little more on your image, but we'll talk about probably makeup and hair and things like that, and have a little bit of fun in that area. Basically, how you look to others and how you maybe can enhance or improve your image, and we will have some special guests for that too. So, good night, everyone, and
Don't
may
forget
the
to take
joys of
your group picture, Tim, before you shut down.
Yep, a group picture.
Don't
Let me
forget
do
to
a
take
gallery
it that you
view.
do.
We can pop a gallery view up. There you go. How's that?
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
That's
Thank
so
you. Thank you, ladies.
now there's one gallery. Here's another. Okay.
Good night, everyone.
And guess
Bye.
what? And here's the other. So we got 3 galleries tonight with everybody that was in there. So again,
Hey, thanks, Fabled Santa and Santa Tom, Santa Mark.
yeah. Oh yeah. And Bob Suetter, I didn't have you down as an original host, but thank you so much for joining us and helping out with your comments. And I know I want to have you on a future webinar, maybe you and Phil Wentz and some others, and we'll talk about a little history and culture, because I know that you and Phil Wentz have forgotten more than I even know. So, or, just you guys are so good on all that stuff. And if anybody has a suggestion for a webinar that we could cover, send me a note. tell me what your idea is. I've tried to do these because we were all stuck at home, and I just wanted to give everybody a chance to, if you wanted to hear some, listen to me talk for an hour, okay, or hear some of these other folks. Why we want to have that as much as possible. And but God bless you all. Take care. Be safe out there.
Yep.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Jim.
Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Tim.
Good night.
Thank you,
You all
Tim.
a good night. Be safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Say, Tom, Santa Carla.